Welcome to Three Men and a Yang, Andrew Yang 2020 podcast here. I'm your host, Matt. To my right is
Mike.
And to my far right,
Scott.
And we just have to say, first and foremost, we're not left.
We're not right.
We're forward.
And basically, we're here to learn more about Yang's ideas and his politics as he is running for president on the Democratic side. Three guys from different backgrounds and point of views coming together and agreeing for once on something political. For now. So we're here to learn from you just as much as you are from us. So questions, concerns, anything like that, if you want to comment, post, anything of that sort, let us know, because then we can come back, we can do the research, find out for you, and go from there. So how I found out about Yang is I actually overheard my two friends here talking about it at our local hockey game every Thursday, and I'm never one to be shy about my personal beliefs, and I decided to look a little bit more into and research Andrew Yang. And I'm known for researching a little bit too much, and I really liked where he was coming from and how he wanted to, pursue this presidency run. And I enjoyed it and joined up with these guys.
I am Mike. I found out about Yang through Mr. Oh, I'm sorry, I said the last name. Say action. This is gonna suck.
I'll just bleep it out.
Say action.
No, this is the good part.
All right. I'm Mike. I found out about Andrew Yang through my buddy Scott here. He first once mentioned it. I don't remember what we were talking about, politics at hockey, but he said, "Hey, you got to look into Andrew Yang. He wants to give you $1,000 a month." And I said, "It's a gimmick, typical Yang non-research response." And so I passed it off, and then a week later we were talking about it again, and he brought it up again, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to look into this." And lo and behold, I saw him on the Joe Rogan show. Loved everything he had to say, so I looked into him more, yang2020.com, and kind of hooked right now. So I'm really, fingers crossed, hoping that he gets a good shot at this. So go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, well, again, I'm Scott, and I found out about Andrew Yang by watching the Joe Rogan podcast. I did send Mike that link. Sent it to a lot of people, actually.
Lots of links. I listened to all of
them. That was,
I
want to say in February. Not at all a political guy. Watching Trump kind of made it funny, so paid attention that way. And then, the Democrats coming in, they're also funny because I think, a lot of it is just, humorous. And I don't want to go too far into that, but...
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. So, watched Joe Rogan's podcast, saw that, was intrigued, and went down the Yang YouTube rabbit hole. And started telling people, and maybe change some people's minds, maybe, open their eyes a little bit. And that's really what I was trying to do. I'm not registered to vote. I've never voted before.
I think we're going to work on that.
But Yang has definitely piqued my interest because I don't think I could ever vote for a politician. So, that's my background.
And Yang will be the first one to tell you he's not a politician. He is a entrepreneur.
Correct, yes.
Who is a problem solver. And that kind of caught my ear. I don't like the bickering that usually happens with politics. I don't like the lies, the fake news, all that crap. I'm not one for that, so I vote as best I can by what I hear directly from their mouths. And I like what I hear from Yang's mouth. So what are we going to do on this show, Matt?
Ultimately, what we're here for is to go over, obviously, his main policies. He has a lot that we can go over. We'll try to keep the podcast a little bit shorter and handle one thing at a time. But ultimately, obviously, what's a good way to start is ultimately what got us all intrigued in the first place. You know what I mean? Was that freedom dividend that we heard about, this UBI idea. And if you don't know what that is, it's universal basic income. And it's a mindset. It's an idea from an entrepreneur. It's been around for a long time. But more and more are we seeing it in the more civilized world. And the U.S. is actually one of the only ones who do not have a UBI of some sort. And this freedom dividend, as Andrew Yang calls it, which, by the way, that was absolutely great.
I think it's great
to name it.
The freedom dividend?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a stockholder in the American corporation called America. You should get a dividend every month. So go ahead.
And it's $1,000 basically. Anyone from the age of 18 to 64 years old, if you are...
Oh, you get it till you die.
That's what I heard.
I read that it was 18 to 64.
Nope,
See,
till you die.
we'll clear this stuff up on our show. That's what's great.
I don't want to say who, but another politician came out and said that they want to do a UBI, but they want to do 18 to 64.
Now, the reason
remember who it
why
was.
this is why this
I wanna
is
say Marion
this is where this
Williamson.
show can get iffy.
Williamson?
Some people will say that it's until you die because he eventually wants to replace Social Security with it, which you almost could, but it depends on how much you work. If you work, you're going to get more than that. So at 64, you would probably stop collecting. You would opt out and collect your Social Security if that's how it works. I don't really know, but Social Security might not be there when I retire anyways. So
Okay.
we're there. So that's something we got to
So, yeah,
research. That's what the show's all about. We need to find that out. So
And they're not professional.
that's on our things to look up list.
You know,
But I am looking on the site.
CNN, Fox News type people.
I'm
So
looking on the site directly. I stand corrected, and I have no
Dang,
problem
2020.
admitting it. It does say just over the age of 18. It does not have a cap on it, so I do apologize. But
Oh
hey,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
all.
apologize. I
I'm
like
okay
this.
with that. I'm all right.
No,
and that's another thing. We can be wrong. It's okay if we are willing to do the research and use facts to back up what we're saying. That's fine. But
Yes.
if I'm going to have an opinion and say, hey, this is what it is, and it's not, we don't deal with that bullshit.
Busted.
Okay, opinions are fine if you can back them up with true, actual, factual meaning, because then it turns into a hypothesis, which makes sense. Anyone who's educated knows that, which all of you should be. Anyways, moving
I'm
forward.
not.
Education slang.
Moving forward, ultimately you get $1,000 a month, which equals $12,000 a year for any adult citizen. That means if you are married, that ultimately is $12,000 for you, $12,000 for your spouse, an additional $24,000 a year. The object there is basically, Scott, why don't you tell us what the object of having that extra $12,000 a month in the Americans' pockets would be?
Well, for the people who run into problems, you know, your everyday life, your car breaks down, you need to fix it, you can't because you don't have that money. Well, now this will help out.
That's because 78% of Americans, according to Yang, live paycheck to paycheck, which is pretty close. And 54% of Americans can't afford a $500 bill, a sudden $500 bill.
Right.
And in my case, he's pretty damn close. So
Exactly. And, you know, even you know, things like you want to go on a vacation, but you can't afford it. You know, you work hard. You've saved up some vacation time. Oh, I want to go on a vacation. Oh, I can't afford it. Well, now you can. It's going to put the money right back in the economy. Economy?
Economy.
That's
good.
That's the word.
And we did forget to kind of throw this disclaimer in there. We are not professionals.
I
we
did
are.
say that. We'll say that
You
over
did
and
say
over
that,
again.
but yeah. So have your fun with us, whatever. But
Yes.
we seriously
Take me
want to know.
down.
So if you don't want us to vote Yang, convince us why. Don't tell us we're stupid.
Yeah.
If you want us to vote Yang, keep telling us why we should. I mean, I you know, right now I'm on the Yang side. I know some of my friends are close to the Yang side. I'd like to find out more about them
Yes.
to get them to the Yang side, to have them help us try to spread the word about them and keep the momentum going. Because you know,
People are definitely intrigued when you bring up, Yang. They're like, I don't even know who he is. And all you got to do is explain the freedom dividend thing, a couple other things, and you could see them like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll look into it. And that's what I've
it
always
takes a
found
while
funny.
to get them there, though.
Because I've never voted, and I know more about what's going on in the Democratic Party right now, like as far as all these debates and stuff, than some people who
And
voted all their
85% of your
lives.
friends?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
like when I mentioned it
Who
to
are
these
all ready
guys,
to
they
vote for
did not
somebody.
know. So I just found that, people used to tell me, oh, you should have no opinion because you don't vote.
It's
Well-
not true. Your opinion is to not vote.
Right,
And
I
you're
was
going to
fine
vote
with
this
that,
time,
but
so you're going to
Yeah.
vote this time.
yeah,
so it's
we'll
cool.
see.
I mean, to bring up Mike's point about us not being professionals, I think that's the point, because I think
Yes.
90 to 95% of your voters out there are not professionals,
Yeah,
just
or
following
aren't.
politicians and thinking and picking apart every little thing. And that's okay to be in that situation, but to learn, follow the facts, the numbers, the statistics, and see what works. If something is working, why would we not try it? If it is not working and there's stats to show that it doesn't, then why are we pretending as though it's something that could work? That's where I come from. I love my numbers. Just I talked to you guys before. Stats, and a UBI ultimately has worked in other places. Finland most recently has done experiments with it, and
Alaska has theirs.
yeah, Alaska has theirs.
Alaska's
right
is
here.
funded by oil, though, so that's a little different. But.
True. Where
And
the
what is
funding-
ours
and
going to
it's
be funded
only-
by?
where
And it's only
Tech.
1,000 to 2,000 a year. Now, a real quick proponent, since I believe this first one's not live. Obviously, it's not a live
Right.
one.
We do want to eventually.
We
maybe
want to go live
but
eventually, so we'll try and interact with everyone. That'd be a little more fun. But
Not
for
very
now,
tech
if you
savvy.
have any questions or concerns, put them in the comments. We'll do our
Absolutely.
best to look at them. But my biggest concern that I have that I can't seem to find an answer to yet is how long will we get this for? I feel like eventually, and
Someone
I'll
will
use
come
me as an
along.
example. All right, I'm going to get this $1,000 a month. Awesome. I'm going to clean my shit up in 2 years.
Right.
I'll be all set. I'll no debt. What's going to stop me from taking that $1,000 now and buying a new house, getting a new car?
Right.
All of a sudden, I expanded my budget, and I'm back in the same boat I was in before. So I did read somewhere that Yang was trying to find a way to make sure you couldn't use it on, or maybe not even Yang, but somebody may have suggested that you can't use it on loans or
Right.
whatever. I have no idea how he would enforce that, but to me, that's one of the biggest issues I have is eventually you will expand your budget again to where you need
Yes.
more than an extra $1,000 a month, and then that defeats the purpose of it.
I think part of this is, and I've seen him say on education, they should be teaching, more things like basically how to handle money in school.
Yeah.
So, you're
It's one of the big
16-year-old,
topics we'll go over.
in 2 years you're going to get this $1,000. Well, here's how you're not going to screw it up. And it should be taught in schools, and that will help, the future so they don't screw it up. Like he says, if you now
Yeah, I
got
never
this
had a
extra
class.
$1,000, I might as well just, hey, this is my
I
income.
never
now.
had a class on how to spend my money.
Nope.
I had economics, but that was all about
And guess who
big stuff,
has
stock.
guess who has a policy that would teach life skills to all kids in high school?
Who's that?
Andrew Yang.
Oh.
And we can go over that as well
thought you were
in
picking
a separate
business,
podcast as well. To answer your point, Mike, actually, in your terms, ultimately, every person, every human is going to get used to that amount of money.
Right.
It's going to happen, and it's just like when you get a raise. If I get $1 an hour raise, awesome. And I'm going to think, hey, let me put 50 cents away in extra in the savings, and I'm going to put another 50 cents back into my pocket. Over time, you ultimately do end up spending more. But here's the thing, is everything that you mentioned that you would spend that money on, and I believe 90 to 95% of American citizens would spend their money on, is back into the economy.
Exactly.
Which then turns the economy into a better place where people have more disposable income. You can't stop people from spending their own money. And I think the thing is that people feel as though, there's too many times where people are telling us what to do with our money. We're getting taxed. We're getting this. We're getting that. But Americans want their own money in their own pocket. And to be able to do with it as they please, because almost every single thing that you would purchase with this $1,000, whether it's a tire that you have to fix because your car, you ran over some pothole on down South Park because they got to fix that damn street, or
But maybe they'll have money now.
right, or Mike, you pay off your house. Guess what? Now you sell the house when the market is hot. You get more money back for what it is, and then he buys a new house, and guess what? That's going to increase the value of real estate around. That's going to allow realtors to make more money going forward, and then it rolls back in.
Trickle-up economy, I believe, is what
And when
it's
you're paying
referred
off your debt, at least the money is not going into 24% interest rates on credit card debt. It's going back into the economy and where it should ultimately be. So that is a concern, but at the same time, if you have more money and kids know how to use it and when to use it, that is what is the attempt of moving forward. Teaching the American citizens to be educated in things that they need to be educated in so that they can use those funds to best use.
Well said.
Thank you.
And if you're a business owner, this should be huge for you.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know, I know very little about what's going on, but, if you're a businessman, so a lot of people I've heard said they like Trump because it helped out their business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wouldn't this help it out more? Because now there's, billions of dollars extra in your city.
In the consumer's
So let's
hands
stop
who
right
buys
there.
your things.
That's where one of the other biggest
And it's going
counterpoints
to go
is.
into that. Go. I know what you're doing.
If
Go.
you get $1,000, everybody's going to raise prices. Inflation will go up. $1,000 will be meaningless. So it's not going to happen that way because not everyone's going to raise their prices. The ones that do aren't going to sell shit. The ones that don't, I'm going to go buy
That's
my
right.
stuff from them.
Right.
I mean,
Some
sure, there's a
people-
couple that might get away with it.
Yeah.
Nike. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm not saying bad or anything. I'm saying
Just
I would
say
still buy Nike.
swoosh.
That's what
No.
I'm saying.
Do they have that?
I
now,
would
too?
still buy them. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they would do that.
But you would have more money to afford it because for people who can't afford
Right.
Nike or
I think it
Under
would
Armour,
promote
all those
sales.
things, they would be able to afford it now because they have that extra money. And,
It'd be
and
Black Friday all year round.
yeah, and I think what Mike's point is,
First of every month or whenever you get this.
with
his first. He
They're
did
not
say
coming
that
on
would
the
be
30th. No. I think Mike's point is good though because a lot of
February.
people feel as though getting a universal basic income or this freedom dividend is like raising minimum wage, and minimum wage has caused inflation in the past, but it's not the low end of the totem pole is the only ones that are getting this. Everyone is getting this,
Everybody
and
gets it.
it's not just the business owners who have to pay people minimum wage who are paying that. Because if you look at it, if I'm getting paid minimum wage, Mike's getting paid $5 above minimum wage, and Scott's getting paid $10 above minimum wage. If you raise minimum wage $3, that does nothing for Mike or Scott.
You should buy
It
Coke.
only does something for me. And that also causes my employer to pay me more money for the same job that I'm doing. If we reallocate the funds that are already in circulation to give $1,000 a month to each person, we just have more funds to spend on the products for the business owners.
Right.
The Amazons of the world, who pay $0 in taxes on $30 billion in income, pay your fair share of taxes, and trust me, that money's going to come back.
Yeah.
He spends more money on Amazon than he spends on his wife.
That's a good point.
Just saying.
I think a lot of it is on his wife, though. But
either way.
My wife does it all. It's not me.
no, I think Matt. It's obvious Matt will be the driving force on this show. I think
Word
you're well
up.
spoken, man. Well spoken. I like it.
Well, when Scott
And
brought
he's
it up,
passionate about it, so that helps.
well, when you guys were talking about it and you had brought it up, I don't just jump on one thing. If it's Trump or it's Hillary or it's
came
Bernie
at me, yeah.
or anything, I'm gonna ask you why you think that way, and then I'm gonna do the actual research on it. And Scott was like, look it up. And what did I do? I went home and looked it up, and then the next week I had questions for you.
Yep.
Because ultimately, I feel as that's the way that all Americans should be. We can't look at newscasts and CNN and Fox News anymore the same way because what Mike said. There's too much stuff out there that they just want to push for their own agenda.
Yep.
Well, what the hell is our agenda? The American people. Our agenda is to do better for ourselves so we can help our families. And the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about with this is if I have an extra $24,000 a year because I'm married happily and we both have $12,000 coming in, you know what that does? That gives me time where maybe I don't have to work as hard and I can
That
work a
second
little
job,
bit
you know,
less overtime.
and be healthier. Healthier mentally, physically,
Oh, yeah.
and enjoy more time with my children. Too many
I can
times of the
afford healthy
American
foods
people.
and maybe lose some weight.
Yeah.
Maybe I can stay home, or the wife can stay home. One of the parents
One-
can stay
yeah.
home and not be strapped. You know, have
Yep.
to go work at night because the dad's working there today, or the mom's working there today.
I'll tell you this: I have a 2-year-old. Well, he's not 2 yet. I'm not allowed to say that. I have a 2-year-old,
An almost
and the
2-year-old.
and the cost for him to be in daycare full time, 5 days a week, with both me and my wife working, would be over $26,000 a year. That's ridiculous. That's unfortunate.
That's
Something
more
that we
than
have
the
to do.
freedom dividend for the both of you.
It is. But guess what? If we had the freedom dividend,
Yeah.
wouldn't have to worry about that so
Yeah,
much.
one can stay
Or
home.
guess what? One can stay home a little bit more, take a little bit more time, so that I'm not spending almost $30,000 a year for someone else to raise my child.
Right.
I can, and my wife can.
So that's where
tuition.
the better life, the better lifestyle, the happier we are. Maybe it'll help drop suicide rates. Maybe it'll help stop
And-
crime because if you go into jail, you lose your fund. Maybe it'll, if you want to live on $1,000, by all means, go right ahead. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no reason. I mean,
I don't even know if that's possible in,
I don't know
in
if
the
it's
way
possible.
the economy right now, because
People-
you're taking.
People do it.
but if you
People
wanted
that
to,
are on
you could.
welfare or
The point
whatever.
is, if you wanted to, you could. You could chill at home or wherever on a beach, get a shack, whatever you want to do. You could just do it and still have your $1,000. If you wanted to try and start a business and it failed, you don't have to worry about being homeless on the street. You still got your $1,000 to get you through to your next endeavor. There's just so many good things about it, but we probably should wrap this up soon because I believe we're approaching our 30-minute. We're going to try and keep these at 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to let you run with this. Whatever else you want to say. I just want to thank you all for watching. You know, personally.
What we want to do is pretty much maybe on a weekly basis go through a lot of his policies. Like 1 week we'll
Next week we're going to
touch
start
on-
off big with the freedom dividend.
we'll
get
go
into
more
the
in depth on
details.
that. You know, one week maybe we'll go over his his gun policy,
Healthcare, education,
everything.
immigration. We have a whole list of things that we can go over. Hot topics and maybe less than hot topics that people want to talk about. Climate change, you know,
Right.
Anything and everything, because ultimately that's what's important is understanding where the candidate lies, because you're never going to align with every single thing that one person has to
Hell
say.
no.
But what this country has become with the people that we have been able to put into presidency and running for presidency is ultimately embarrassing. It is. And anybody who
And
has
funny.
voted Hillary or voted Trump or whoever, it's embarrassing that was the two choices we had. Someone who was ultimately convicted of, not convicted, but
we don't have to go there.
allegedly
We don't have to go there.
go there.
You can
But
stop right
We
there.
don't
They
have
know.
to. We
oh,
have
you don't
to.
want to talk about that? You
No,
want to bring it up?
no, that's not
We're
what
not trying to
we're all
say-
about. We're not about the other politicians. We're about
It shouldn't come down
not
to
left, not right. We're about
the-
moving forward.
That's
Solve
what I'm
the
saying.
the best
So-
of the two worst like it shouldn't come down to that.
That's
It
what I'm
should
saying.
You should
Right.
have two candidates.
That's
you're
why
like,
we're
"Shit,
here.
man,
That's what I'm
I
saying."
like both
Yes.
these guys.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying. It shouldn't have
Yeah.
to come down to that.
Right.
It should come down
Everyone
to
knows. We don't have to explain them.
not everybody knows.
Most people know, but still.
But ultimately, yes, that's what we're here for, is to we get educated just as much as you. So please ask questions. We'll be more than happy to answer them. And when we do go live and go from there, we'll be more than happy to handle it. So
Subscribe, share us, click the little bell so you know when we're live, which should be sometime Monday nights-ish. We'd like to end this at halftime so we
You
can
think
watch
it's
the rest
Tuesday
of the
nights?
game. Whatever nights. We'll figure it out.
figure it
Monday nights right now seems to work. So
Okay.
we'll go for there. And,
We're gonna destroy the NFL ratings, just so you know.
yeah, I know. Anything else to say? They can
No,
watch
that's
this,
it.
at any time of the day.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. I appreciate it.
and coming from Matt, Mike, and Scott, we're not left.
We're not right.
We're forward. Thanks for watching.
Yang 2020.
Yang2020.com. Google Angel Yang. Do all that stuff.